Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So as you are all aware of, we had started with the chapter digestive system. So in our last lecture we have seen the general overview of digestive system. So what are the different parts of digestive system? Okay, what are the different organs? What are the different layers? The innervation by the nervous system, and also we have seen about the peritoneum in brief, that is a protective layer of the different visceral organs which are located in the abdominopelvic cavity. Okay, so before going into the actual organs in detail, so we are going to cover the mouth, which is the first organ, which is the starting part of the gastrointestinal tract. So as we have seen in the last lecture that the digestive system basically it comprises of two types of organs. Okay, so these organs are grouped into two depending upon their structure and their function. Okay, so the tube-like continuous structure, it is named as the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, right from the beginning, that is from the mouth to the rectum, okay, or the anus, which is the last part. So that's a continuous tube-like structure. That's what we have seen. We have seen the location of these different organs which belong to the digestive system. So we have seen that gastrointestinal tract is basically a tube-like structure, continuous tube-like structure. Okay, so this gastrointestinal tract, it comprises of mouth, which is the starting point, okay, through which the ingestion of the food takes place. Of course, we have covered the functions of the digestive system, also the roles which the digestive system plays. Okay, so mouth is the first part, after which the food will move to the pharynx. Next is the esophagus, next is the stomach, then the small intestine, then lastly the food will go into the large intestine, from where the waste material, the solid waste, will be removed out of the body in the form of feces by the process of defecation. Okay, so these tube-like structure, the various parts of this tube-like structure, these are named as the gastrointestinal tract or alimentary tract as it is known as. Okay, then the second group of organs, these are collectively known as accessory digestive organs. So as we have seen that they help in the digestion either by decreasing the size of the food particles, that is by the teeth, the crushing takes place, or the tongue, which helps in the movement or conversion of the food into a rounded structure. Okay, or it helps in the keeping the food in between your teeth, okay, and pushing it backward so that it goes to the next part. And also the liver and the gallbladder, which liver bile is produced and gallbladder stores it temporarily. Pancreas also produce pancreatic juices. So these contain several digestive enzymes which help in the process of digestion. Okay, so this is to do with the various organs or the parts of the digestive system. Okay, so with this we shall begin with the first part, that is the mouth. Okay, so mouth, which is the first part of the digestive system, where ingestion of the food or the entry of the food into the digestive system will take place. So mouth, which is also known as oral cavity or buccal cavity. Okay, why it is known like that is because bucca means the cheek. Okay, that's because it is formed by the cheeks, the hard palate, and the soft palate and the tongue. So all these together comprise of the mouth. Okay, we'll see one by one what are the different parts, what are their locations, and etc. So to start with the first part, that is the cheeks. Okay, so as you are all aware, they form the lateral walls of the oral cavity. These are the ones. These are your cheeks. So they form the lateral walls. Okay, so the side walls of your oral cavity, it comprises of the cheek, and externally it is covered by skin, whereas internally it is covered by the mucous membrane. This you can see the pinkish color, it's a mucous membrane, and this mucous membrane comprises of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, so a lot of wear and tear will be taking place over here, okay, because large food particles, coarse food particles will be present in your mouth. Yes, a lot of wear and tear will be taking place. So usually the mucous membrane in the mouth, it comprises of the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, whereas the cheek contains the buccinator muscles and the connective tissue, it comprises of. And the anterior portion, it ends in the form of folds known as lips, okay, which are seen towards the exterior. Okay, so the anterior portion of the cheek, these two, okay, they end at the lips. This part is called as the lips. Okay, then the next part, that is the lips, or these are also known as labia. Okay, means fleshy folds which are surrounding the opening of the mouth. Okay, so these are the fleshy folds. Now these whatever structure is shown over here, here the lip is lifted upward and this lower lip is pulled downward, okay, to show the internal details. Okay, so lips are also known as labia. So these are the fleshy folds which surround the opening of your mouth. Okay. Now basically they contain orbicularis oris muscle. Okay, so this is the name of the muscles which are located in the lips. Okay, so it comprises of the skeletal muscle. Okay, because it is your lip movement, it is voluntary, right? It's under your control. Okay, they will help you in eating as well as in talking. The specific movement of your lips will help you in speaking. Okay, and externally these lips are covered by the skin, whereas internally again they are covered by the mucous membrane, as you can see over here. Okay, and inner surface of these lips, it is joined to the corresponding gum. Okay, now here you can see the upper lip, it is connected to the upper gum. These are the gums, right? Okay, so this upper lip is joined or it is connected to the upper gums, and the lower lip is connected to the lower gums by a fold of mucous membrane, and that fold is known as labial frenulum. Here you can see that on top there is for the superior lip, there is a superior labial frenulum. So this is your superior lip. Okay, so it is connected to the superior gums by this fold of mucous membrane, and this fold is called as superior labial frenulum. Whereas the lower lip or the inferior lip, it is joined to the lower gums with the help of one more fold of mucous membrane, and that is known as inferior labial frenulum. Okay, then next part is the oral vestibule. Okay, vestibule, the actual meaning of this word is entrance to a canal. Okay, so the starting part of your oral cavity, okay, or the mouth, it is called as oral vestibule. Okay, so now this oral vestibule of the oral cavity, it is the space in between your lips and the gums and teeth. Okay, so externally the lips and the cheek. Okay, so externally it is lined by the cheek and your lips, and internally by the gums and the teeth. So space in between over here, this space. Okay, so this space in between your teeth and your lips and cheek, that particular small area, that is known as oral vestibule. Okay, so as such this particular space, it is not open as such. Your lips or your cheek, these are continuously in contact with your teeth or your gums. Okay, excepting in certain functions when you are speaking, sometimes this particular vestibule may be open. Okay, otherwise rest of the states it remains closed. Okay, so as such that particular area is a very small area. Okay, whereas the next portion, okay, is known as the oral cavity proper. Okay, now oral cavity proper is the space in between your teeth. Okay, it extends from your teeth to the fosses. Okay, now what is fosses? Fosses is actually this part, okay, which is the opening of your mouth or your oral cavity into the oropharynx, which is the next part. Okay, that is the first part of your pharynx is the oropharynx or your throat. Okay, so that opening it is called as fosses. Okay, so oral cavity proper is extending from your teeth and your gums to your fosses. So that internal space is known as oral cavity proper. Okay, so the internal space of your mouth is divided into two parts, oral vestibule and oral cavity proper. Okay, then next part is the palate. Okay, this one. Palate, usually it is the wall or the septum which separates the oral cavity from the nasal cavity. Okay, so just superior to your oral cavity is your nasal cavity, right? And this particular palate, it separates the oral cavity from the nasal cavity. So it forms the roof of your oral cavity or your mouth. Okay, so it is formed by this palate. Now this palate is again of two types, hard palate and the soft palate. Okay, if you can feel it, the anterior portion, that is the portion which is there, the roof of your mouth, okay, the anterior portion that is in front, it will be harder. Okay, this one, that's why it is known as hard palate. Now this hard palate, it is formed by the bones of your skull, that is maxillae and palatine bones. You must have studied in your skeletal system, okay, the bones of the skull. Okay, maxillae and palatine bone, they form the roof of your oral cavity, and these particular hard palate, it is covered by the mucous membrane. Okay, whereas just towards the posterior side, that is towards the back side, okay, the roof comprises of the soft palate. This portion is the soft palate. Okay, now why it is known as soft palate is because it mainly is soft in nature. It is not comprising of the bones. Here bones are not present. Actually it is the arch-shaped muscular partition. So it is soft in nature because it is made up of mainly the muscles. Okay, that's why it is known as the soft palate. Okay, so palate, it is divided into two, hard palate which is placed anteriorly, it is mainly made up of the bones of the skull, whereas the soft palate is located posteriorly and it is actually the arch-shaped muscular partition between the oropharynx and the nasopharynx. This is quite backwards, right, interior. Okay, so it forms the partition between the oropharynx and the nasopharynx. So when you are swallowing something, okay, so it's just pulled upwards so that the food which you are swallowing, it should not go into your nasal cavity. And this soft palate is also lined by the mucous membrane. Okay, then hanging from the free border of this soft palate, this is your soft palate, right, arch shaped muscular structure. Now from the free border of this soft palate is hanging a conical shaped muscular process, and this is known as uvula. Okay, so uvula, it is a hanging conical portion from the soft palate. Okay, it's actually pulled backwards and upwards so that it will prevent the movement of food into your nasal cavity. That's the function of this uvula and the soft palate. Okay, apart from that, there are two muscular folds again which are located, which run down from this lateral side of the soft palate. Okay, so there are two folds on the either sides. Anteriorly, that is in front, whatever fold is present, that fold is known as palatoglossal arch. This is the one. Can you see it over here? I just zoom it. So towards the anterior side, the fold, lateral fold which is present, it is known as palatoglossal arch, and posteriorly there is one more fold of the mucous membrane, that is known as palatopharyngeal arch, which is located in the pharynx. Okay, so these are the two folds, muscular folds, which are placed lateral to the soft palate, and in between these two folds are located the palatine tonsils, which are present in between these two arches. Okay, so this to do with the mouth. Now there are certain accessory organs which are associated with the mouth, so those also we shall cover in this particular lecture. Okay, so we'll move on to the salivary glands. Okay, now salivary glands are actually the glands which release the secretion which is known as saliva. Okay, so they secrete this saliva in the oral cavity. Now usually if you can see the mouth, it is kept moist, right, with the saliva. Imagine if there were no saliva, what will happen? Your mouth will dry up, right? So in certain situations it happens that dryness of the mouth is produced. Even certain drugs also produce this side effects, that is anticholinergic drugs. They produce the dryness of mouth. So when your mouth becomes dry, what happens? You will not be able to speak appropriately, right? Even if the saliva is not present in the appropriate amount, swallowing will also become difficult, right? Okay, so that's the significance of saliva. It keeps the mucous membrane of the mouth and the pharynx moist, and it cleanses the mouth and the teeth continuously. Okay, so that's the main function of the saliva. Not only that, saliva secretion increases when food enters the mouth. Okay, so usually the amount of saliva which is secreted in the oral cavity is very less, just for it to keep the mouth and the pharynx moist. But once the food enters the mouth, secretion of the saliva will increase. And now why it increases? In order to lubricate the food which is present. Imagine if the food is quite dry, will you be able to eat it or will you be able to swallow it? No, it is not possible, right? Even the digestion or whatever dissolved substances are present, they should dissolve in this saliva, right? Okay, so it helps in dissolution of such substances. To certain extent, some chemical breakdown of the food, chemical digestion, specifically of the starches, it begins in the mouth itself. Okay, so this enzymes required for this chemical digestion is also present in the saliva, okay, which is secreted in the oral cavity. Okay, so this is the function of the saliva. Now let us see what exactly are the different salivary glands, okay, where they are exactly located, okay, what the saliva is, how it is, of what it is composed of, and what are the functions of its individual components. Okay, so usually the salivary glands are of two types. Okay, there are small salivary glands. Okay, so these small salivary glands, these open directly or indirectly via short ducts into the oral cavity. So whatever saliva they are producing, ultimately it will be released into the oral cavity through short ducts. Okay, so there are a number of small salivary glands which are located in the oral cavity at different locations. Okay, so these small salivary glands include the labial glands. So as the name implies, you will easily be able to identify what is the location. Labial glands, labia means lips, right? So labial glands will be located in the mucous membrane of the lips. Buccal glands will be those which are present in the mucous membrane of the cheeks. Palatal glands will be the ones which are located in the mucous membranes of the palates. Lingual glands will be those which are located in on the surface of the tongue. Okay, so all these small salivary glands make a small contribution towards the saliva, total saliva which is secreted in the oral cavity. Okay, whereas most of the saliva, it is secreted by the major salivary glands. So there are two types of salivary glands, small salivary glands and the major salivary glands. Okay, so these major salivary glands, the difference is that small salivary glands, these are numerous. Okay, there are number of glands which are present, but they may make a small contribution. They have short ducts and they are located in the mucous membrane itself. But these major salivary glands, they lie beyond the oral mucosa, and they have quite a long ducts through which this saliva will enter the oral cavity. Okay, now there are three pairs of major salivary glands. Okay, so three types of major salivary glands are present, and these are paired in nature. That is, there are two glands of each type on either sides, one on the right side, one on the left side. Okay, so the picture which is shown over here, it shows only the salivary glands on the right hand side. Similarly, one more gland will be located of each type on the left hand side also at the same location. Okay, so there are three pairs of major salivary glands. These include the parotid glands, the submandibular glands and the sublingual glands. Okay, so coming to the individual types of glands. The first type, that is the parotid glands. Now why they are named so is because of their location. This is the parotid gland. Okay, this one. Now why it is known so is because of its location. It's located just near your ear, right? Okay, as you can see over here, inferior and anterior to your ear. Okay, just beneath and in front is the location of the parotid glands. So that's why it is known like that. Par means near, to means ear. Okay, so that's why they are known so, parotid glands, the ones which are located near the ears, in between the skin and the masseter muscles which are located in your near your ear. Okay, now secretions of this particular parotid glands, paired parotid glands, these reach the oral cavity through a duct known as parotid duct. Okay, so this parotid duct, it originates from the parotid gland. It pierces the buccinator muscle which is located in your cheek, and it opens into the vestibule, oral vestibule. Do you remember what is vestibule? Oral vestibule. It is the space between the cheek and the teeth and gum, right? So it's opening in the vestibule, not in the oral cavity proper. Okay, and where exactly it is opening, you can see over here, it is opening opposite to the second maxillary molar tooth. Okay, that is upper side, the molar tooth which is located over here, just opposite to that is the opening of the parotid duct. Okay, so whatever saliva is produced by this parotid gland, it will enter into the vestibule through the parotid duct near the upper molar tooth. Then the next type of major salivary gland is submandibular gland. Okay, so this particular gland is located in the floor of the mouth, and as the name implies, submandibular. Mandible is, it is the bone, right, of your lower jaw. It's the only movable bone of your skull, right, of your lower jaw, which makes it possible for you to speak, right, which helps in opening of the mouth when you speak or when you eat. Okay, so the submandibular glands are found in the floor of the mouth. So this is the submandibular gland. Okay, so it's just placed medially and partly inferior to the body of this bone, mandible, which is located over here. And whatever saliva is produced by this particular gland, it enters into the oral cavity proper through the specialized duct known as submandibular duct. This is the one. So it's entering into the oral cavity proper. Just beneath your tongue is the opening of this particular submandibular duct. Okay, so the secretion of the saliva from submandibular gland, it will enter the oral cavity proper, and the opening is located just beneath the tongue. Okay, and then third type of major salivary glands are the sublingual glands. So these are located just beneath the tongue. So as the name implies, sublingual means these are located just beneath the tongue. This is the tongue. Okay, so just beneath the tongue is located the sublingual glands, and whatever saliva is produced by this particular gland, it reaches the oral cavity proper through lesser sublingual ducts. Okay, so there are a number of ducts by which the secretion of saliva reaches the oral cavity proper, just beneath the tongue. Okay, so this is to do with the salivary, the types of salivary glands. Now coming to the composition and functions of the saliva. Okay, now chemically the saliva, it comprises of 99.5% of water and 0.5% of solutes, that is the dissolved substances. Now among these solutes there are a number of ions, a number of types of ions like sodium ion, potassium ion, chlorides, then bicarbonate and phosphate ions. Okay. Also apart from these, dissolved gases are also present, various organic substances including the waste materials like urea, uric acid, mucus is also secreted in the saliva. It also comprises of the immunoglobulin A, the bacteriolytic enzyme lysozyme is also present in the saliva, and the starch digesting enzyme salivary amylase is also present in the saliva. So this is to do with the composition of the saliva in general. So these are all the components which are present in the saliva. Now though these are all the composition of the saliva, all the salivary glands do not contribute all the ingredients in the same proportion. Say for example, parotid glands, they secrete a watery liquid or the serous liquid containing the most amount of salivary amylase. Whereas the submandibular gland, it contains a similar type of cells, but apart from that it also contains the mucus cells. So the secretion from the submandibular glands is little bit thickened because of the presence of mucus. Whereas the sublingual glands, it mostly comprises of the mucus cells. So the saliva which is produced by sublingual glands, it is much thicker in nature because a lot of mucus is contributed by this particular glands. A very small amount of salivary amylase may be secreted. Okay, so the composition of saliva from each type of gland may vary a little bit. Okay, now to the functions of the components of the saliva. So the water which is present in majority of the amount, that is 99.5% of saliva comprises of water. So this water which is present in saliva, it acts as a medium for dissolving the food materials which are broken down, or it may be present in the dissolved form. Okay, so even once the food particles they dissolve in the saliva, you will be able to feel it. Okay, the taste can be sensed. Okay, so it cannot be sensed unless and until the food substances will dissolve in the saliva. Okay, then next is the chloride ions. So chloride ions in the saliva, they help in activation of the salivary amylase, which is the enzyme which is digesting the starch, okay, which helps in the breakdown of the starch in the mouth into the maltose, maltotriose and alpha dextrin. Then the bicarbonate and phosphate ions, they act as buffer. So whatever acidic foods are present, so buffering takes place for such acidic foods in the mouth. Okay, so saliva is only slightly acidic in nature. Then saliva also acts as a excretory medium for removal of the waste molecules from the body. Say for example, urea and uric acid, these are also secreted in the saliva. Okay. Then the mucus, it helps in lubricating the food so that swallowing becomes easier. It can be easily converted into a small ball-like structure so that swallowing will become easier. Then the immunoglobulin A, it prevents the attachment of the microbes, okay, so that they cannot penetrate the epithelium. So it has a protective function. Even the enzyme lysozyme, it can kill the bacteria. However, this protective substances are not able to eliminate all the bacteria. Okay, 100% protection may not be possible. Okay. Now, coming to the next part, that is the tongue. Okay. The tongue is again an accessory digestive organ in that it first of all helps in the sensation of the taste. Okay, so you will be studying this in detail under the special senses. Okay, so because it is a part of accessory digestive organs, we will consider it in brief over here. Okay, so it basically is composed of the skeletal muscles. Okay, so you can make your tongue move in the way you want while you are eating or while you are speaking. Okay, and it is basically covered by the mucous membrane. So the details of the tongue will be covered under the special senses. There are taste buds. Okay, so there are taste receptors, how taste sensation takes place, that all that things will be covered under the special senses. Okay, so we will just see in brief over here. So basically this tongue along with the associated muscle, it basically forms the floor of the oral cavity. The roof is formed by the palate and the floor is formed by the tongue. And tongue interiorly, it is divided symmetrically into two halves by a median septum. A septum is present which symmetrically divides the tongue into two halves. Okay, and it is attached inferiorly to the hyoid bone, styloid process of the temporal bone and the mandible. Okay, so it is attached to the bones. So this to do with the location of the tongue, and interiorly it comprises of the skeletal muscles. Okay, so identical complement of the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles are present. So by altering the size and shape of the tongue, it will help you in speech, that is in speaking, and also in the swallowing. Next part is the teeth. Okay, the teeth, or they are also known as dentists. These are the again the accessory digestive organs which are located in the sockets of the alveolar processes. Okay, so these are the alveolar processes of the mandible and the maxillae. So mandible is a lower jaw. So in the alveolar processes of the mandible also the teeth are located on your lower jaw, and maxillae is it is the upper jaw. It forms the upper jaw. So in the alveolar processes of this maxillae also certain number of teeth are present. Okay. Now these alveolar processes, these ones, these are covered by the gingivae, or these are also known as gums, which slightly enters into the socket interior. So whatever visible portion is there, which you can see outside, these are known as the gingivae or the gums. So these are lining your alveolar processes externally. Now these sockets are also lined by the periodontal ligaments. These are the ones, small white portions you can see over here. These are the periodontal ligaments. Okay, So what they comprise of? They comprise of the dense fibrous connective tissue. So this connective tissue helps in anchoring the teeth to the socket walls. So it helps in attachment of your tooth to the socket. So it fits in. Okay, so it acts like a glue. Okay, so it holds your tooth in place. Also it acts as a shock absorber during chewing. Okay, now this particular tooth, a typical tooth, it comprises of 3 major external regions. Okay, it is divided into 3 parts: the crown, the root and the neck. Now crown is the visible portion which you can see above the gums. That is known as the crown. The root, there are, depending upon the type of tooth, okay, there are either 1 root or 2 or 3 roots are present for a particular tooth. So these roots are embedded in the socket. So here you can see that there are 2 roots, right, which are visible over here. Okay, so there may be 1 root, or certain tooth have 2 roots, or certain the molar specifically, they have 3 roots. Okay, and the neck is the constricted region in between the crown and the root. Okay. Then coming to the internal structure of the tooth, dentin. Okay, so dentin, it is the calcified connective tissue which gives the basic structure to the tooth. Here you can see this is the dentin. So the basic structure of your tooth, it is provided by this dentin, and it basically comprises of calcified connective tissue. Now since this connective tissue is calcified, it is even harder than the bone because of its higher content of the calcium salts. Okay. Then the dentin of the crown, here you can see this portion, it is covered by the enamel. The external white portion which you can see of your teeth, that is known as the enamel. So only the dentin in the crown part, it is covered by this enamel. Now this enamel, again, it primarily comprises of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate. So this particular portion is even harder than the bone. Okay, because it comprises of a large amount of calcium salts, 95% of the dry weight. Okay, so this is the hardest portion of your body, you can say, the enamel of the tooth. Okay, so this is the hardest substance in the body, and it provides the protection to your tooth, and it saves it from the wear and tear which happens while you chew. Sometimes you have to chew the harder substances also. Okay, so your tooth do not get damaged very easily, right? Okay, because of this enamel, which is the hardest portion. Even it is protecting your tooth against the acids also, which can come in contact with the dentin. If they come in contact, then it can even dissolve the dentin. Okay, so it is enamel, it is protecting your tooth. Okay, now the dentin of the root, this portion, the dentin which is located in the root portion, that is covered by another bone-like structure that is known as cementum. This is the one. Can you see this white portion? This is cementum. Okay, so it is again forming a layer outside your dentin of the root portion. Okay, so this cementum is actually attaching with your periodontal ligament, right, which attaches the tooth to your alveolar process. Okay, so it helps in binding of your tooth to the socket. Okay, then apart from this, dentin of the tooth also encloses a interior space, and that enlarged part of the space, it is called as the pulp cavity. This is the one. Okay, the enlarged portion, specifically in the crown and the neck region. So this portion is known as pulp cavity, which is filled with the pulp. Okay, it's a type of connective tissue which contains the blood vessels. Here you can see that there are blood vessels which are present. There are nerves. there are lymphatic vessels which are present in this pulp cavity. Okay, so what happens if your tooth is damaged? What happens? Why do you feel that sensitivity in your tooth? If there is damage to the enamel and dentin, if it is damaged and if the food particles come in contact with your pulp cavity, you will feel the sensation. Okay, so that's an indication that your tooth have a problem and you need to see a dentist. Okay, now this is to do with the extended portion of your pulp cavity, right? Then the pulp cavity, it also extends, the narrow portion of your pulp cavity also extends into the root of the tooth, and these are known as root canals, which run through the roots of your teeth. Okay, so these root canals, what is the function? Basically, these are the root canals which have the opening at the base, and this opening is known as apical foramen. It is through this opening that the blood vessels, the lymphatic vessels and your nerves will enter into your pulp cavity through your root canals. Okay, so blood vessels, they bring the nutrition which is required by your tooth. The lymphatic vessels, they have the protective function, and the nerves, they provide the sensation. So if your tooth is damaged, then it will result in the sensitivity. Okay, so this is to do with the structure of the teeth, and we have finished with the first part of the digestive system, that is the mouth, and some of the accessory organs in the mouth region. Okay, so this is the reference. Thank you for watching.